Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, home of the BitSquad, the largest crypto community in all of the interwebs and all the spiderwebs. We've got Spider in the studio right now. This is Feezy, and this is Around the Blockchain. We're here Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, bringing you the topics that you want to hear about with your favorite guests, and it is going to be a great show today. We have two first-timers. We have Davincis, J15, in the pipe, 5x5. How are you doing, my friend? And we also have, first time ever on the show, we have Gareth from InTheMoneyStocks, giving you that deep stock knowledge that, you might be lacking. And also, back by popular demand, his chat would not let it go. It is Bugra. I'm trying to say it correctly. And as always, we got Bad and Cleanup, Bitcoins. Not even going to reference the sign today. Bringing it up, Ben Armstrong. All right, so we're going to cut right into some market watch. And before we get into that, if you like what you're hearing from the guests, hit +1 in the chat. We'll make sure to give them some points. And at the end of the show, they get to tell the people what they need to hear. But as you all know, it's been a rough day. It's been a rough 48 hours. Bitcoin, I'm refreshing right now. Looks like it's hovering right at the $3,000 or $30,000 mark. Look like it's a little bit below. So it's been fighting. Looks like 30 might be turned into resistance. ETH, right below 1,800, is also trying to climb. It's been a little bit rough, but FTX is up 6%. There's been a big news with the $900 million being pumped into it at an $18 billion valuation. So FTX has been pumping up a little bit. Sam Bankman, I'm sure he's liking that. Ben, I'm gonna bring it to you. What is it that you're seeing in the markets today? Are you seeing a lot of blood in the water? Are you still scared to jump in, or is now the time to jump in?
Well, there was a story already about whales buying below 30K. We've been telling you guys that the target for the big money manipulation is $28,000. And I think they're getting quite frustrated. They can't seem to get it there. Kind of the way I think this week has gone is I think that there was a hope by the people manipulating this market to the downside that they were going to see the 28,000 because of the grayscale unlock, all of the FUD that was created because of that. You had people who were normally bullish, extremely bearish about the grayscale unlock, and it did nothing. The grayscale unlock did nothing. And so what I think we're seeing right now is this is the final push after that letdown to try to get it, below 28,000. If you look at, I'll pull up Market Cipher real quick here and just show you guys what I'm looking at here. Go to my tab.
Yeah, like you were saying, it was basically a big nothing burger from the unlock.
100%. So this is on the daily chart, and this is Market Cipher, which we use as our indicator here on the channel. And you see this green dot here at the bottom. Can you guys see that? Is that showing on the show? You guys can see that circle down there? Okay, here. Hold on. Let me fix that real quick. Let me see if I can fix that. Maybe I can't, actually. Maybe I can't fix it.
Well, we can take your word for it. I don't think you're lying.
There you go. Did that fix it or no?
It's still just hidden, but
it's still below. It's still below. Here we go. Boom. Now you can see it. So here we go. We've got the green dot at the bottom of Market Cipher here. I switched it to the top view so you guys could see it. And the point here is we were supposed to get a large push up. But what happened is during that time is that we got the yellow X here. We got the yellow X for manipulation, and we see this usually near the bottom of a dump. Now what we've got here on Market Cipher B is we're forming another downward turn on this momentum wave. So what we're waiting for right here, we're waiting for another green dot. And like CryptoFace eloquently said yesterday, in a bear market, these green dots here, they don't end up showing big gains. It just means like kind of a local bottom. But I think the vast majority of us that are in crypto still believe we have one last run up in this bull run. And so we're looking for that best entry point. If you look here on the daily chart, if you go back, we had one. This was back in that dot right there was for the large dump in May. And then this was in September. And this back here is all the way in March and April of 2020. So you see these green dots, they don't form very often. And I know it's kind of hard to show here on the chart because of the bottom of the nameplate there. But the point is, when you look back at all these times, these generally led to massive run-ups. I mean, the one in September this happened right here. So you guys can see what happened from that point up. So I'm still looking for an entry point. I think below $30,000, I think this is a decent entry point. 28 is where it easily could go. But ultimately, if you get in at 28 or you get in at 29.5, I don't think it's that big of a deal. So a good strategy might be go in now, maybe save some for later. We still have money sitting in stable coins, about $1 million that, we're looking to do something with, if it does go down to 28.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not the bottom when you see a green dot, but it is a bottom. I will say that money flow indicator is in the red, so be careful. Have tight stop losses if you are going to enter any kind of leverage trades. And always, folks, low leverage. No 100x here, no 50x. Okay, those for maniacs. And that's going to take us right to our first topic: are stocks dragging down crypto? Gareth, I want to bring it to you first. So we had a very tumultuous day in the stock market yesterday. It looked like it dropped 725 points. It was the largest dump points-wise of the entire 2021. It also coincided with the crypto dump. So I want to ask you, why are we tied to the stock market, or are we not tied to the stock market?
Yeah, you're definitely tied to the stock market. What's interesting is that the market seems to actually follow crypto. And this is something that I noticed back in 2017 when you made that high just under 20,000. Crypto actually dumped out significantly from that high, as we know. The stock market actually waited a couple months before it started to reverse and sell off. And it's almost like that's repeating at this point again. So we've seen the deleveraging begin in cryptocurrencies from 65,000 down to 30,000 here. It's starting to spread into kind of the small caps and the mid cap stocks. We've seen even the meme stocks like AMC come significantly off of their highs. And it looks like it yesterday began to spread a little bit to the large cap tech. The reason why large cap tech is the last to fall is because those are the most powerful out there. They're the biggest ones, the biggest earnings drivers. They're the ones that the institutions will stay around in the longest, as well as investors, before they dump it and just run for the hills. So in my opinion, you actually see cryptocurrency as a great leading indicator for stocks. It's one of the reasons why I've been shorting the market overall, the stock market that is, over the last month or so.
Okay. Mega, I want to bring it to you. We're seeing the housing, the houses have skyrocketed. I know you moved to the States. So you must be seeing it as well. Do you think the housing market would also be tied to crypto, or is that just going to be a completely separate entity?
I think everything is tied with one another. I think we haven't been in this specifically time period where we started printing a lot of money. I mean, not necessarily printing, but lending it out. And we're just going to keep doing the same exact thing over and over and over again. And there's always going to be people trying to guess where the top is, and it will probably never come, if you ask me. I mean, some people say that this is already the top, right? So in cryptocurrency specifically, and they expect the real estate prices to go down. And, a lot of influencers are actually talking about that too. I mean, if the prices go up, is it smart to basically invest into them? No, you buy when the prices go down. And we have seen the cryptocurrencies to, go down significantly, and specifically in the, smaller caps, they went down 80%, 70%, really solid fundamental names too, some of them. But, it all comes around when the Bitcoin is going to bottom. Is it going to come in, or is it another 1.5 year of a bear market again? I do not think so, if you ask me. I think what we are seeing right now, specifically in cryptocurrencies, is going to be really different than what we saw back in the time, because this is the uncharted territory. And if you take a look at the M2 money, monetary base and all these other, data points that you can combine, or the CPA numbers, it all looks like they are not topping out. Can they top out? Sure, why not? Maybe we are going to see a deflationary time period. But if you ask me, with all these fiscal policies that we are seeing, especially last March, we just saw a $1 trillion bill. And also, in fact, if you take a look at the recent act that we saw, $15 billion a month we are giving away to people out of nowhere because they have children in the U.S. We are borrowing, we are lending out all this money, and Fed is doing everything they can to make stop this. If you ask me, I think by the time you look back at it, it's going to be this time period is going to be a great accumulation time period. Can it go further? Sure, why not? But I think Bitcoin is going to be really different in the future in terms of just protecting your purchasing power. So if you are buying at lower prices, sure, just keep accumulating. That's simply it.
Yeah.
Well,
the money's not coming from nowhere. It comes from the money machine that just has a limitless amount. It's just infinity amount. Davinci, I want to bring it to you. You've been in Bitcoin a long, long time. We can go more into the history when we talk about the miners and everything. So I want to bring it to you. Is it possible for us to have a Bitcoin bull run if we're in the middle of a stock market bear run? Can those act at the same time?
I believe so, because we're actually I don't see a because one, there's so much money being printed, and there's evidence that this is clearly causing a lot of inflation, and so institutions and businesses and so forth, they need to protect themselves from this inflation that's coming through, and so they're going to do it in different ways, and they're not.
They lost you there for a second.
But am I still there?
Yeah. We got you now.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I really think that corporations are going to, be purchasing things like their inventory or artwork, or looking for other things in order to do an inflation hedge. They may not trust Bitcoin like Michael Saylor does. So they might look for other things. So I'm going to start looking at the balance sheets of businesses and see what they're doing in order to protect themselves from inflation, because that's important. And then we can see that if they do protect themselves from inflation, that's also going to drive their stock prices higher. So I'm going to see that, and I'm looking forward to looking into that their balance sheets to see if I can find something.
Yeah. Gareth, you do have a strong stock background. I'm looking at your current background, and I'm just blown away. I'm almost intimidated by the amount of charts and screens you got in there. Look like, was it JD from Grandma's Boy? I want to ask you real quick, because we saw intense selling pressure. We saw something similar to March of last year. A lot of people are saying if we reach a certain point, Wall Street will hit panic mode and everything's going to start dumping. So my question to you is, does the government have the ability to let the free market play out, or are they just so entrenched with messing around with some numbers? Do they have to manipulate? Is it possible for them to step out and just let the market do what the market's going to do?
That's a great question, right? So it's important to remember that everything is tied together because of leverage and just the amount of money in the system right now. So when we talk about the stock market and how it's related to Bitcoin, they're all connected because you have leverage in the system. So for instance, if you look at the margin amounts that people are even borrowing just to invest in stocks, it's at all-time highs right now. And what that means is that if you just get a small correction of 5 or 10% in the market, it's going to create margin calls, and that's where it comes into the crypto world, where you'll start to see people saying, okay, well, I got to meet a margin call in my stock portfolio, so I'm going to have to sell some Bitcoin here. Now, I love Bitcoin long term, but whenever this deleveraging event occurs, in my opinion, you're going to see quite a bit of downside, not only in the stock market, but kind of spreading through everything. I mean, maybe gold will hold up a little bit, but it still will see some deleveraging. Now, when it comes to, can the government step back? Can the Federal Reserve step back? The answer is no. I mean, they cannot. The Federal Reserve, we've seen them over and over again. Every crisis they come in to the market and they lower interest rates lower and lower. They never get them back to the same level that they were prior to the collapse. And then the next crisis comes up and then they have to do even more. And we've seen them since 2009 just printing money, printing. And now the U.S. debt is so high that you're in a position where they can't even let interest rates go up too much or it'll bankrupt the United States and cause a catastrophic event. So, interest rates can moderate to maybe 2 to 3% on the 10-year, but there's going to be a point, right, where the Fed will even have to come in and just lock interest rates to try to keep the bubble essentially from collapsing.
Real quick, is it possible for there to be a flip-flop? So right now stocks are worth about $53 trillion. Will there ever be a day where crypto moves stock, not the other way around?
There probably will be, just like you could argue that the bond market is a leading indicator for the stock market, and then the bond market is way bigger than the stock market overall. So I do think crypto gets to that point. But crypto, in the scheme of things, if you look at how long the stock market has been around, crypto is still in its infancy and it has a long way to grow. You got to flush out still a lot of weak hands. I mean, even this break below 30,000 to me is very concerning, because we've never had a daily close below 30,000. Today we got our first one. It leaves the door open where the Bitcoin chart has like a small little window here to get back above 30,000, or I think you're headed towards 24, 25,000 pretty quickly.
Okay, and I want to ask everybody this. If you give me a date, I would say I'll go ahead and start. So stock market worth about 53 trillion, stocks, crypto, we hit that trillion. So we're looking at a 50x difference. I would say in 12 to 14 years, we might see a flip-flop. Gareth, just real quick, how many years? You're in Vegas, you had to throw out a number. What would you say we see a flip-flop?
I'd say 10 plus years, 10, 12 years, I could see it.
Okay, Ben, what would you say?
11.99 years.
Okay, you're hitting me with the Price is Right numbers right there. I like it. Davinci, how long from now would you say that happens?
Yeah, I agree. About 10 years, we'll see Bitcoin be, used as the world reserve currency, I think.
Okay, so 9.9, just in case it's under. Mega, what would you say?
I think like 7 years.
Okay.
I think it's going to be like sooner than anybody anticipate.
Okay, so we got 7 years on the low end, 14 years on the high end. So let's hope, people. Let's hope. You know what?
That's
I'm
bullish.
saying it's going to happen. That's bullish, baby. That is bullish. Well, let's go to our second topic here: crypto miners making moves. BJ, we have a couple graphics for that. We're looking at the on-chain. There we go. Is that
Mr.
Face?
Christoph?
I think that was. Either that or Crypto Face's mining farm. We have small miners. We're looking at the on-chain data. It looks like the smaller whales have been maybe selling, while these large whales have been accumulating. Right here, this is the mean. So if this is the middle of where people are, just those who don't know the difference between like a mean and an average. Mean is in the center of the data points. Average is just combining everything and then, dividing by how many there are. So on the mean, it looks like they are selling more. If you want to go to the second one here, and here's where it's actually going down, where the total amount is going down. So you have less people selling, but they're selling a little bit more. But it's such a large amount of less people that, if you look here, like over the last few months, it is definitely less outflows from miners going to these exchanges. So essentially, the miners are selling less. And then for our final graphic right here, we have the net position change, where this is, they accumulate all the miners' data. So, they're starting to accumulate. So the large miners, they're better capitalized. They're able to weather the storm a little bit more. So Davinci, I know you have a mining background. Could you just give us a little bit of a background on that? I know you had an apartment filled, more mining machines than furniture, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I originally, when I started into Bitcoin, I found it very difficult to buy, and I didn't really trust MT Gox with sending them wire transfer. So I decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to just mine, and it was really relatively easy for me. I purchased a bunch of video cards, and I had a massive amounts of mining equipment. And so I also wanted to create, I was also using pools, right, to do the mine. So where you'd mine at a specific pool so that you would actually get paid on a regular basis. But because I gathered so much Bitcoin over time, I was able to and of everybody else that was mining with me. I took down the pool because I realized that I was trying to keep up with mining, right? You had to keep up with the equipment. And because I was buying the equipment, and it was taking.
Looks like maybe having a little bit of issues there again. Yeah. It's kind of like every 20 seconds it'll cut off for like 2 seconds.
Okay. Alrighty. Cool.
And it's always the very most important thing you're trying to say.
Yeah, it was the apex of the
sentence. Exactly.
Well,
So it was a space race. It was a space race to always, to actually get the equipment, and then once you got it so late, then you didn't really get the real benefit of it because it took so long, and I ended up realizing that if I just purchased Bitcoin instead of purchasing the equipment, I would have been better off in the long run. So there's also the way to, as a miner, if you're a large miner, right, you could also trade a little bit the market so that you could sell the tops and get back in and so forth. So that's what the miners should generally do in order to survive, so that they can they hold a lot of Bitcoins, but the smart ones, right? The way I would have done it, right, is I would actually borrow a bunch of money, print a bunch of money, right, actually, from the printing press, right, especially as a zero interest rate.
Same thing.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then open up a mining operations and to pay the electricity costs and everything on that, and then wait for Bitcoins to get to their crazy highs, and that's when I'd sell.
Now, Mega, I want to bring it to you. You also have, a lot of screens there. You must know what you're talking about. I'm just kidding. You do. That's why we have you on the show. That's why we have all these guests on the show. They know what they're talking about. And if you like guests that know what they talk about, that don't read scripted lines, please hit that like button. Hit that subscribe. And if you go in the description, there's links to all the channels for the guests here. Click on their channels, watch all their videos, go back like 4 years when their videos could have been cringe. I don't know. I know my content was back then. So, but Mega, so we have these large whales, they're starting to accumulate. Are you worried that this is possibly just manipulation, or are they do you think they're waiting for the higher price to dump, when Bitcoin eclipses 60 again, maybe hits 80, hits 90, hits 100?
I think any whale that's buying Bitcoin is not like thinking about the next like year or 2 years. They're just thinking about the next like 10 years or 20 years. That's how you make an investment, right? So yeah, I think this opportunity, like the opportunity that we have right now is, I think, insane. Like if you take a look at all the stats and everything, like even if Bitcoin goes down to like 10K or whatever it is, or below the cost of production, we go down all the way down to like, let's say 10K or even 7K. Like it doesn't really matter what Bitcoin's price is, if you ask me. And the cheaper that you can buy it, the better it is, because nobody knows where the bottom is. And you got to accumulate all the way down. I mean, it's just a part of the game. Like we are down like how much percent right now? Like 55%, 60%. Like you can't go down 80%. It always did it. Like, does it really change anything with Bitcoin? No. I mean, we are all here for a reason, if you think about it. And Bitcoin can bottom from here. Tomorrow, Elon talks about Bitcoin again positively, maybe say that Tesla will accept Bitcoin again at some point. I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't really matter. I think we're going to see this like inflow of people in the future from the underdeveloped and developing countries especially. And it's just going to skyrocket the prices by the time all the institutions accumulate. So they brought the boss back so that they can accumulate all the way down. It just was like, this had to happen, and they're just doing it right now.
Yeah, traditionally, Bitcoin will fall 85, 90%. Bitcoin don't fall 90% this time. I can handle 75, maybe even 80, but don't fall 90, please. Gareth, I want to bring it to you. Are there any stock plays that are in the mining field, or the traditional like Bitcoin accumulation field that interests you, or would you just rather buy the underlying asset?
Yeah, so I mean, there definitely are. Like SOS was a Chinese one. Now you got to be careful because of the regulation that China's slapping and trying to ban all that stuff. And by the way, just so everyone's clear on it, is the reason China's become so anti-Bitcoin is because their digital yuan launched, their currency, basically their digital currency, and they want that to be the reserve currency of the future, right? So that's why they've become so anti-Bitcoin. They're trying to basically hammer the competition, which is Bitcoin. I don't know whether or not they'll succeed, but at least I think regardless, even if they do succeed, Bitcoin still has that kind of gold, digital gold type thing to it. But when it comes to miners, honestly, maybe you can squeak out a little bit more of a gain on miners. But I think that overall, you're safer playing Bitcoin itself. That's the pure play. That's what all these things are going to move on. If Bitcoin falls, the miners fall more. If Bitcoin rallies, the miners probably rally more.
I like that take there. And Ben, I'm going to bring it to you because I heard at the meetup someone ask you about this specifically, and you basically had a strategy. They're asking for the people watching at home right now. Everybody hit the like already if you haven't. But a lot of people they're asking themselves, should I get into mining? All these people are talking about mining, but you had a different take on what your strategy would be versus buying the equipment. You would go a different route. Could you just touch on that real quick?
Yeah, can I also touch on my sign here that says Bitcoin's power bottom? Who decided to make that the sign today?
Steven, but I said it sounds good. I said it sounds good.
I'm to blame.
It sounds good.
It's my fault. It's my fault.
I just read it. Look, we have some really talented, creative people here, and sometimes they go to the bottom of the gutter here. Listen, here's what I would say about that. Okay, yeah, I know. TJ just walked in and laughed. Okay. Look, do not buy mining equipment. Run as far as you can away from Bitcoin mining. The world is going to a non-hardware Anything that you have that's a physical product, you should start trying to get away from. You're like, let's do math. Okay, let's think about it. If you had spent, let's say, $6,000 on a Bitcoin mining operation back in March of 2020, okay, or let's say April of 2020 when the price got back up to $6,000. So it's one Bitcoin equals $6,000. If you had bought a miner and you had been mining for the last year and a half, how much money would you have? Okay, I don't know the exact answer, but I know it's less than if you would have just taken that $6,000 and bought one Bitcoin with it. I know it's less. Traditionally, for people that want to buy 1 or 2 or 3 miners, you're just going to be way better off actually buying crypto. And if you believe Bitcoin mining is such a profitable industry, then you believe the future of Bitcoin, then it just makes more sense. You don't have the headache of trying to run it. Now, look, if you're at a place that has free power, sure, go for it. Sounds great. But that's very few places, and you're not going to be able to get away with that for long, even if you do have a good power source or a cheap power source. For most people, if you want to do it as a hobby and you just want to put some money into it and learn about the hash rate and learn how ASIC miners work, then it'd be fun as a hobby, but you're always going to be better off actually buying crypto than investing in mining equipment on a small level. Mining is becoming a big business industry. It's already really been that way for about 3 to 4 years. The Chinese miners, don't be confused. Don't be confused on Chinese mining. It's still going. They still have most of the hash rate. And by the way, all the miners are made there. So even if they are having this crackdown on mining, which is all a bunch of smoke and mirrors, by the way, you won't see that hash rate in China drop very much over the next few years. It will drop some, but there's still going to be a massive player in the mining industry, whether it's through hash rate or through selling the miners. So they still are focused on it, but I do think there is some clearing of the digital yuan that they're doing now. But Chinese miners, they got it. They understood, okay, let's have 1 million machines or 100,000 machines, and we make a small profit on each individual one. And for the normal human, like you or me, or the people watching this channel, y'all just aren't going to be able to make it profitable. It's big business. It's a volume play. You're not going to be able to do a volume play on a small level.
Davinci, I want to bring it to you one last question, or maybe one more on this topic. We've explained the halvening cycle before, and it splits in half every 4 years. You know, right now 6.25, if I'm not mistaken, and you know, pretty soon, 3 years or so, it will be 3, and then it'll be 1 point something, and then it'll be less. Eventually, it's going to be less than half. What do you see with the landscape of Bitcoin once we're mining less than 10 total Bitcoins in a day? Are we still going to see these giant institutions, these mining companies raise 50 million, 200 million, buying power plants? Are we still going to see that? Or is Bitcoin just not going to be worth enough? I think there was a demon from somewhere just pulled us.
That was a market closing on my end. I apologize.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a demon coming out of a hellscape. So Davinci, where do you see it when we're doing less than 10 Bitcoin a day?
Yeah, well, I think we won't see these cycles where Bitcoin runs up and then comes back down. I think the cycles will end at that point, and we'll see that Bitcoin price action will level off. But then we probably will get to a point where priced against what? Bitcoin will be priced against what? Your local currency?
Ethereum?
Probably not going to use it, right? And exactly, it might be priced against Ethereum or something like that. And because I'm pretty sure that that local currencies will go to the wayside, and then people will be talking. When you'll know when Bitcoin has arrived as the currency, when people say, "Well, what's the price of the Bitcoin?" and you ask them what the price of Bitcoin is, and they go, "What do you mean Bitcoin? It's 100 million satoshis or something." What do you mean, right? When then it's the money, and we're there. So that's coming, and that's when we have less Bitcoins. Will the miners start mining? Still mining? Yes, they will, because the price of the value of a Bitcoin, right? I'm not going to say price because it's going to be very valuable. So the small amount that they do mine from transaction fees will be extreme amount of money that they're going to be able to, or wealth that they're going to be able to extract from the system from transaction fees. So there'll always be miners available and wanting to mine and building your farms and trying to compete to make the best mining equipment and to mine Bitcoin more than someone else might. So that's always going to be here.
All right, and one last question. I'm actually interested in this, Gareth. I want to bring it to you because your replies have not been stock answers, and they've been on the money. So with the low volume, we've seen it's because a lot of people are saying whales. That was okay. That was okay. So the low volume,
terrible.
the whales aren't selling these giant amounts of Bitcoin, and with that, there is lower volume. I know we could talk about retail not being involved right now, but when the whales do dump, the volume rises. So is there any credence to, could low volume mean like it's not as bearish because the giant whales aren't selling, or are we just trying to, get some? Are we just drinking hopium?
Yeah, so I mean, number one, you're right on that. It means that the big players are not dumping huge amounts here. So that means that their long-term view, and again, most of them are more based on the longer-term view. They're not looking to scalp, half a billion in Bitcoin or whatever, right? So that's a good thing. The only negative about light volume is that it's basically telling you that if any individual or panic hits, price can drop precipitously really quickly. So it's like a small cap stock. For those of you that have traded those small cap stocks, if you just get one big seller that decides to dump, it can create an oversized move in cryptocurrency or in Bitcoin. So I think it's a positive in that respect, but I still think that the light volume is concerning because it shows that you're not also getting a lot of accumulation of institutions, right? I mean, if we saw tons of accumulation here, you'd see a lot more volume as well. So it seems to me people are sitting on the sidelines. Institutions are sitting on the sidelines. I think, ever since Elon Musk backed away and talked about the energy issues with Bitcoin, a lot of these large firms on Wall Street that were looking to buy Bitcoin, they're now sitting back. I do think they will emerge and start accumulating as soon as it becomes socially acceptable to do so again. So again, I think the volume is a double-edged sword. It's good to see that the big boys aren't dumping, but at the same time, it does leave price vulnerable.
Okay, I like that. Well, let's take it to the final topic here. I'm going to bring it to you, Mega. It's institutions are entering the crypto space. And when we say institutions, we mean like hedge funds, wealth managers, foundations, banks, pension funds, and the like. So there was a survey from Fidelity Digital Assets. They surveyed 1,100 institutional investors across Europe, across America, and across Asia. And they asked them, are you going to have crypto, do you plan to own any soon? And do you plan to own any by 2026? 90% of the institutional investors plan to own crypto by 2026. 70% said they're going to buy very soon. So I want to bring it to you, Mega. What do you see when these institutions come? I mean, is this super, super bullish, or is this, just kind of, they're just saying it because it's hot right now? Will it actually pan out to 90%? What's your take on that?
I think the smart ones will accumulate it first. Like, if you think about it, if this is the reality that we are living in, the fact that Bitcoin will be the future money, which it is, we know that, then the smart ones will have to act first. And if a person, talks a little bad about Bitcoin because of his own, basically money, like, for example, like Elon Musk talked like shit about Bitcoin, right? Like he did. And he put out this message, which was like written by his board or something. And we talk about this in the previous videos with Ben and with TJ. And it's just like, is that really the case? You just got to do your own research about it and accumulate all the way down. It's simple. I mean, and I can't see people front running each other in the future. Like, it's just like the supply is decreasing all the time, that like the later that you come in, the worse it will be. Like, if you think about it, it's just really simple. So it doesnn't matter where the price that you buy it at. You just got to buy as much as possible. That is the game, and you got to play the game in that way. And if you are waiting right now, it's the wrong move. I can tell you that, because, it's just, you may be right, you may be wrong, but that's not the game. The game is, this thing is better than fiat. So why are you thinking in terms of fiat then? It's just really simple.
Yeah, and if you want to play the game, he's got some good songs with Dr. Dre and 50 Cent as well. Big fan, bullish on the game. Ben, we're going to bring it to you, since I guess you got a headache. I don't know, because it clearly wasn't what I just said. Are you expecting, because you got some hot takes on the Muskrat, are you expecting anything to pan out from this talk with Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey tomorrow?
I understand why people cringe at my jokes now.
Okay,
I get it.
Okay.
I understand it now.
My,
I understand
how have the turntables.
How the turntables have, okay. Look, I think that it's not a coincidence that this is going off, right as, we're hitting maybe not new bottoms, but maybe a power bottom with Bitcoin. I think that, what Gareth said was, see, I'm funny. That's the difference. I think what Gareth said was very.
I was going to say BJ took credit for writing that, by the way. We should have realized it was BJ all along the second we read it. We should have. Moltar.
Okay. So what Gareth said earlier was very interesting because he said the daily close below 30,000. We got a very small window to be able to get Bitcoin going in the right direction again. Well, what do we have in this window? We have this big, meeting plan between a lot of these big investors. We go back to February when Michael Saylor had something similar, a corporate event with all the Fortune 500 people that came in. I still think this thing's going to pop. I think that this window is intentional. I think that this is a very small amount of time because, like I said in the video this morning, there are people moving this to the downside. But you might say, oh, well, if they can just manipulate it to the downside, why in the world would they not just push it all the way down to $1,000 and, get everybody to panic? Because there's a balance of retail sentiment. You can't dump the confidence out of the market 100%. Right now, people that I talk to, even people who got in May, they are still bullish right now. Eventually, that will change. As long as a retail investor is still bullish, then that creates selling points in the future for the institutions to push the money up to, because who are they selling to? They ain't selling to each other. They're selling to the retail investor at the top of the blow off top. So I think we will see it snap back. I think whether it's, look, we know the muskrat loves the spotlight. That's what he loves more than anything else in the world.
You know something about that.
Who?
You.
No, I share it with you. Big
Touché.
Announcement. Actually,
Touché.
the next time I'm out of the office, which is going to be when I'm on vacation, August 4th through the 8th, DZ's going to run the morning show. What do you guys think?
So
you guys think he's up to it? Can he do it?
Yeah, can I do it? And it's not me, it's not me versus Ben. It's me hosting the show versus no show. So, if you would like us to do the morning show versus no show, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're watching at home, make sure try to get us above 6,000. We're at 2.1 right now, 9,000 watching. Keep hitting that like button. Maybe we'll hit 10K. Let's see, Davinci, I want to ask you real quick. We have, all these investors that are getting into Mastercard just entered in. We have JP Morgan hiring more people. Mastercard, what they're doing is, they're hiring more people. They're making it easier for their partners to issue crypto credit cards and to work with crypto, accepting payments. You've been in the market a long time. If this would have happened in late 2017, this would have skyrocketed, Bitcoin. If this would have happened 3 months ago, it would have pumped so hard. So why isn't this Mastercard news pumping the Bitcoin's price?
Well, fundamental news does not translate into price action most of the time. It generally tells you something about the asset for the long term. So basically, these corporations bringing in new staff to study the market or to actually provide different products means that in the future, it's going to be worth a lot more. So that's why you want to take these fundamental events, right, and go, okay, well, now I know for sure in the future, Bitcoin is going to be something real, something that I should hold and for the long term. It was really difficult in the earlier stages when I got in at $1 because you didn't know if there was going to be like some sort of hole or bug in for the software that
$1
inflation bugs or something like that could have appeared, right? And there actually was quite a few inflation bugs that appeared inside of Bitcoin, but they were patched up pretty quickly. So and also, I don't know if people know this, but Bitcoin actually went to zero during the year that I bought it. I bought it in 2011, and later on that year, it actually went to zero because somebody had hacked Mt. Gox and hacked somebody else's account actually, and then all the Bitcoins all the way down to like a penny. Actually, it was less than a penny. So,
I had some friends from high school lose some Bitcoin with the Mt. Gox hack. Hit that like button if you know anyone that had some Bitcoin hacked. All right, I'm going to do one rapid fire question, and then we're going to wrap it up here. So let's assume for a second by 2026, 90% of institutions hold some crypto. We're looking at barely over 4 years from now, so 4.5 years from now, 90% of institutions own some crypto. Where do you see the price of Bitcoin if that happens? Mega, we're going to start with you. What's the price of one Bitcoin?
At least over $1 million. I think you can't measure it in terms of dollars. It's just going to be like Sky is the limit. It's unlimited. Like this is an e-money, so you can't measure it with like anything else if you ask me.
All right, so we got 7 figures. Let's bring it over to Davinci. Where would it be 90% institutions own some crypto?
If 90% of institutions own crypto, wow, that would be crazy. I think Bitcoin will probably be, would be the money. And I think at that point, because why would they 90% own crypto unless they were using it as money and they needed it as reserves for that? Because right now, I can tell you that most corporations are like looking at crypto and going, no, I'm not touching that. I don't care about what Bitcoin has to say. Right, but eventually they will, and they'll do it because they have to.
Yeah, Ben, let's take it to you. 90%. What's one Bitcoin cost?
You said in 4 years.
4.5 years by 2026.
4.5 years. Is that 4.5? Okay. Listen, here's what I would say on that. The question is not how many of the institutions will own it. It's how many of the frogs. The frogs. It's all about the frogs, guys. I'm going to go down a conspiracy trail here. $250,000, because that's what I'm being told it's going to be in 4 years. Now, here's what I want to say that I feel like our first two panelists, Davinci and Bugra, missed, which is if 90% of the institutions own Bitcoin, it's not necessarily because it's money. It's because they're controlling it. They're trying to control it. Like, how do you become the biggest building in town? You knock all the other ones down. How do you control Bitcoin? You own as much of it as you possibly can. So I think that, the puppeteering, if you will, of the institutions is what will probably lead to them owning Bitcoin. But then you got to say, like, there is a residual effect, though, even on that front of there not being as much in the supply. So that's what I'm being told the price is going to be in 4 years or 4.5 years, $250,000. And it makes sense. 9% of the institutions would own it to control it.
If you like a $250,000 Bitcoin, hit that like button. And Gareth, we're going to end with you. And, just to be clear, a lot of it could just be stable coins. They said some crypto. They didn't say specifically Bitcoin. So 90% of institutions own some crypto. What does one Bitcoin cost?
So I asked this question to Michael Saylor about 3 weeks ago, and I said, have you had your team, analyze if every pension fund, if every institution had to have 5% in Bitcoin, what would it be at? And he honestly didn't have an answer. And I'm like, dude, you got a multi-billion-dollar company and probably a 100-man team behind you. How do you not figure this stuff out? But I would say myself, I would say 250 to 300,000. I doubt by 2026 if every institution does own it, but I do think again at least 250, 300.
He's got a large team, but he was too busy buying black button-up T-shirts. All right, and that is all we have time for today. It's been a fantastic episode. If you like what you saw, make sure you go in the description. Check out the channel links. Check out all these people's channels. It's all putting out great content. And it looks like Davinci stole it from Ben right there at the end. I asked him the quick question, and then he had the longer answer. So he stole it from you, Ben. He stole it from you. $1 Bitcoin, though. Wow. So, Davinci, before we get into that, let me ask you this first. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm in the pipe.
Oh, man, the sound bit on your... just go ahead, 30 seconds, tell the people what they need to hear.
I'm in the pipe 5x5, and remember, always play from a position of strength. Do not get wrecked.
All right. Well, he kept it short and sweet, and that's how we like it here. All right, BitSquad, that is all we have time for today on Around the Blockchain. Like I said, we're here 5 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday, and DZ out.